Past week, we marked the 20th anniversary of the first attack by terrorists on U.S. soil. Remember? It was the bombing of the World Trade Center down in the basement that killed 6 people and injured 1,000. So it's been 20 years of dealing with terrorism here in the U.S. Combine that with the recent report showing a majority of convicted terrorists since the 90s, college-educated Americans, born, raised, working right here in the U.S. So has the face of terrorism changed? Joining us now is former CIA intelligence officer and head of the bin Laden unit, Michael Scheuer. And Michael, 20 years, I can't believe it's been 20 years. It really shows how fast time flies. But that was the first attack on our soil. Has the face of terrorism changed since that attack?
Well, I think it has to some extent, Tom, but I also believe that we convinced ourselves for most of the past 20 years that terrorism comes from poverty, from ignorance, from the lack of employment, and really from the first, from the attack in 1993, these have been educated people. Ramzi Youssef went to university in Britain, for example, who was the bomber the first time the Trade Center was attacked. This is by far a movement that represents the best and the brightest in the Muslim world. And we have deluded ourselves to think that these were uneducated people who were just desperate for a job or something along that line.
Yeah,
so
no
it's
question. Ramzi Youssef was a very smart. In fact, his idea was to knock down Tower 1 and have it fall into Tower 2. And he was this close. If he had been able to park the truck where he wanted to, it might have done it.
Yes, sir. In fact, he told us when we were bringing him back after he was captured in Pakistan that had he had $8,000 to $10,000 more in the original spot he wanted to park the truck, he thinks he would have brought it down, both of the towers down. And I think from what I've read, at least, some structural engineers agree with him.
So these are smart guys, but we get this report out this week that said that the majority of people that have been convicted of terrorism are people that are born and raised and educated right here. Now, most of them are Middle Eastern descent, but they're born in America, they're raised here, they're educated here.
Yes, sir. And we've had these same kind of people go overseas to Somalia and Afghanistan to fight. And I think that the clue for Americans is to understand what their motivation is. None of these people who were convicted were attacking the United States because we have liberties or elections or women in the workplace. They were all focused on the same thing as our enemies in the Middle East, which is the conduct of our foreign policy. Now, you can argue that that policy should stay the same or should be changed, but as long as we keep saying that they're attacking us because they hate our freedoms, we're never going to understand either the dimension or the durability of this enemy.
Yeah, but a lot of people have said that, and they usually get shot down pretty quickly. You've heard the argument against what you just said, that if we're nice to them, they will leave us alone. Not really. People don't believe that, Michael.
Well, it's not so much nice to them, Tom. It's nice to us. What are we doing, for example, 40 years after the first oil embargo, still supporting the tyranny that governs Saudi Arabia? Why aren't we building that pipeline in the United States, which would help to protect Americans not only by giving them jobs, but by making us less dependent on people that are odorous, if you will? Why are we completely supporting the Israelis in whatever they want to do? Why does Senator Kerry go at a time when so many people are unemployed and stick his nose into what's none of our business in Syria and give them $60 million? This is about protecting America, not being about nice to anybody. Indeed, we're going to have to use our military arm much more forcibly in the future against these people than we have to date.
Are we this terrorism changing? And it surprised me that the majority of these people that have been convicted, and there's been 170 or something like that convictions in the last 20 years. It's a bigger number than I thought. You just start thinking about, there was the Times Square bomber, there was you go through a handful of them. But that's a lot of people, and what Attorney General Holder is saying is that he's worried about the people that are here, about the terrorists that are homegrown, and is he right?
Oh, sure. We for a long time lived in the fantasy world that our melting pot would take care of this problem, that all of them would become Americans. And kind of in the first place, the Democrats for 40 years have decided that the melting pot is stupid and we should keep everybody alien to an extent within America, whether they're Hispanics or wherever they come from, or Arabs or other kinds of Muslims. But I think the more important point is that we really need to understand that the propaganda that was started by Osama bin Laden when he was alive and now has flourished around the world is just appealing to young Muslims in the United States as it is in Europe, as it is in Africa, as it is in Asia.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a very, very large problem plucked down on our table without us really realizing it.
We talked on the radio show the other day, and you were saying basically Osama bin Laden, even though he's dead, he succeeded in his mission. It is now, his message is now flourishing.
You can absolutely see it around the world, sir. His goal was never to defeat the United States, but only to draw us further into the Muslim world, which he believed and which it has created a jihad that's self-perpetuating. From Pakistan and Afghanistan to Yemen, to East Africa, to North Africa, to Iraq. Around the world, the growth of this movement in geographical reach in the last 6 or 8 years has been staggering.
Yeah, we've only got a few seconds. I do want to ask you: do they still want to have some big explosion and kill lots of people, or are they talking about cyber terror or bioterror, or which is it, or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above, sir. I think under Ayman Zawahiri and under the leadership of the other groups that exists now, they're much less focused on a big attack, although they'll try to bring off one, but they would very much like to nickel and dime us inside of the United States.
Yeah. Michael Scheuer, you're always full of great information. Thank you so much. Good to talk to you.
Always nice to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
You bet.